Have you ever felt like a orca who's in captivity, submerged in this tiny little pool when you're actually designed to be swimming in the wide big ocean? Well, that's pretty much what's happened with the modern day life of sitting in chairs, looking down at screens. We've completely locked up our movement patterns. So what I've done is I've designed these essential movements that will help you unlock the trappings of modern day life. Give it a go, do it on a daily basis. If you can't do it on a daily basis, at least do these movements every second day. And I guarantee you're going to be feeling a lot better and not suffering from those general aches and pains that you usually suffer, like lower back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, etc., etc. Get onto it. It's a wonderful routine to do on a daily basis, at least every second day. Enjoy. Okay, so we're going to dial things right back to like you were when you are a toddler, and just crawling and moving from those positions here. Now, the crawling pattern is extremely important because it creates the hinge pattern through the hip. Now, what happens is the majority of us are sitting in chairs, and so sitting in chairs allows your back to flex over. So what that does is it creates this really bad habit in your movement system for when you hinge over to pick things up. Instead of you hinging over, the body flexes over like that, and that causes a dysfunction in the lower back, leading to things like disc bulges, sciatic nerve pain, etc. So what we want to do is restore that hinge pattern and get the length back in the back of the legs and work with that. So what are we going to do? First off is we're going to warm up the wrists, because we're going to be spending quite a bit of time on the hands. And not only that, wrist mobility is something that is really not looked at in the fitness industry, or very little. The only time I've ever seen wrist mobility being done is in the gymnastics world. So here's what we do. We're going to take the hands back like this, lock the elbows, and lean back into the stretch. Get a nice big stretch in your forearms, and you're going to do rocking back into that stretch approximately 10 times. See how you feel with it. And then you take your hands forward, you lock your elbows, and you peel your hands up. So you'll see here, I'm peeling my hands up, trying to get as much stretch as I can through the fingers, and then releasing up. Peel up and release. Again, about 10 repetitions. We're going to stretch the back of the wrists. So we're going to take the back of the hands, bend the elbows if you need to, lock it, feel the stretch. See how I'm turning my biceps in and forward, locking. What you can do to increase the stretch is you can rock left to right. You can even increase that stretch by coming up onto your fists and rolling the fists over, and then pressing up onto the fists. From there, we're going to cock the wrist forward and back. So we're going to cock forward and back, forward and back, just like that. From there, you're going to go into wrist rolls. So keeping a nice clenched fist, making sure your elbows don't bend, locking the elbows and rolling your wrists in a nice big circular motion, trying to keep your elbows locked as much as you can. Roll in the other direction. You can work about 10 repetitions round about there. See how you feel. Lock the elbows, cock the wrists up, and open up the hands like you're flicking water up. So flick up, close, up, close. So opening up as much as you can. From there, you cock your wrist down, lock the elbows, and open and close, and do again about 10 repetitions. So that's the wrist warm-up. Great nourishment for your wrists. If you're getting any problems in your forearms, golfer's elbow, those types of things, this is a really good routine to do. From there, we're going to move into the downward dog, a really common movement you see in yoga. Hands down, lift the bum up, look back, drive your head back, so your head is pushing back towards your knees, you're pushing up through your shoulders. So here we're creating an overhead pushing pattern. This would be the start of a handstand journey. From here, you're going to feel mobility through the back of the legs, particularly in the ankles. If you tighten that area, which a lot of people are tight in, you're going to push the ankles into the ground as much as you can.
Doesn't matter if you can't get your ankles to the floor initially, it's a work in progress. What you can do is bend one knee, push the one ankle down into the ground, 1, 2, 3, change, 2, 2, 3, change, 3, 2, 3. Now, before I move on to all the other exercises, I want to talk about breathing. So it's vitally important that when you're doing your movements, and throughout life, that you breathe through your nose, not your mouth. When you breathe through your mouth, like that, your body basically shuts off all the oxygen to the vital organs, the muscles, the cells. So all you're doing is you're supplying oxygen into your bloodstream. So your body is in a state of flight and fright in the sympathetic nervous system. So that's the last thing you want to be doing. You want to be breathing through your nose, so you're feeding all that awesome oxygen into your muscles, your cells, and your organs, so you're in a restorative and healing state. So number one, most important movement, breathe through your nose. So with that in mind, we're going to do all the exercises breathing through the nose. And we're also going to think about getting the diaphragm to work too. So when I inhale, I let my diaphragm expand. When I breathe out, I let my diaphragm draw in. So diaphragmatic breathing, when you're just sitting around doing your day-to-day task, is a really, really important skill to get back into there, because that is basically your core. Your diaphragm is what controls your whole spine and your whole nervous system. You're breathing through your nose, that is. So breathe out through the nose, draw belly into the spine, breathing through the nose, let the belly expand open, and that's how you should be breathing all the time. So we'll move back into the downward dog now. So with the downward dog, as I exert myself, for example, I'm pushing my ankle down. I'm going to first take a deep breath in, breathe out, push the ankle down, feel the stress, breathe out, draw the belly in, breathe out. You can breathe in. Okay, so once you can start getting a little bit more mobility and you're feeling comfortable with that movement, you can then progress to one of my favorite crawling movements, the bear walk. The bear walk is basically the downward dog moving. So in your downward dog position, remember, nose breathing, reach the opposite arm and opposite leg forward. Opposite arm, opposite leg forward. Keeping the legs and the arms super straight. So I'm doing it really slowly here. The slower initially, the better. Just really getting good at keeping the feet nice and straight. When you go backwards, it's going to be a lot more challenging through the hamstrings and the calf muscles, so take smaller steps if you need to. One of the biggest mistakes I see with this movement is turning the feet out like this, and that's just going to exacerbate that knee rolling in. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So make sure your feet are nice and straight, so when you're walking backwards or forwards, the feet are tracking dead straight, not falling outwards like that. Feet nice and straight. And that there is the downward dog into the bear walk. There are many variations of that, but we'll cross that bridge in another set of videos. So the problem with the invention of the chair, it is stopped us from doing our natural squatting pattern. So we become extremely tight in the hips. So one of the best ways I've found to unlock the hips is to do the horse stance. So the horse stance is being made quite popular by Shaolin monks. So you'll see Shaolin monks going into that horse stance position, and they'll go for hours on end just staying in this horse stance position. And that's what you want to do, is try get into that horse stance position and hold it for an extended period of time. So the goal is to open up the feet. So the way to get into the horse stance for your specific range of motion is to have the feet together, and then what you do is you push your ankles out, turn out, turn out,
turn out. And as you're turning out, you're sinking down. So for me personally, that's my movement in my horse stance squat. So we're going to sit down, lift the chest up, and try sit into that horse stance position, keeping the knees twisting out and lifting the chest up. So if you look at the side view here, you see how my lower back is erect, upright. I want to avoid falling forward. So you're only going to come down as much as you can keep those shoulders in an upright position. Remember, turn the knees out, lift the chest up, feel that big load in through the groin. The idea here is to hold this position and build yourself up right up towards a minute long hold. Another inclusion for the horse start or horse squat that you can do is to get a little bit of lateral flexion in the body. So what I like to do is bring the hand up and laterally flex over to get some lat stretching out there. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Breathe out. So when you breathe out, the body relaxes into a deeper stretch. You're no longer fighting with the nervous system. You're telling the nervous system it's okay to mobilize and stretch tighter areas through the body. This is a wonderful position, and I highly recommend you get onto this one too. The squat pattern is a movement that we all had. So as a baby, you see young kids sitting in a squat pattern, playing, doing their thing. But the more we sit in chairs, the more our ankles tighten up, our hips tighten up, and we lose the ability to squat. So one of the greatest ways to restore your squat pattern is to give yourself a heel raise, and then you don't require the ankle mobility to get into that deep squat. So I highly recommend you can either get yourself some nice little chocks here like I've got, or you can just stand on any heel elevation. So you can put like a weight plate under your heels, you can roll a mat up and put that under your heels, and you just basically want to get comfortable in exposing your knees and getting used to being in this squat position. So just sitting there and keeping your posture nice and upright and getting comfortable with that squat position. Another movement you can incorporate into this one is to push your bum back. You can place your hands out in front of you and you can push your bum up in the air. What that's going to do is give you that really nice mobility through the back of the legs, and then you can come down and find that squat position. Stay in there for a little bit shorter period of time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Push back up again, drive the bum back up. So this would be a good variation to start off before you start just driving your knees into this long hold. Because the knees have not been used to being in this position and under tension for a long time, you can feel it in the knees. So I highly recommend you wean yourself into these positions and start with this variation where you just drive your bum up and then sink your bum down and then hold that. If you find that this is even too difficult, what you can do is find yourself a secure environment. So for example, I've got this ladder system here. You can hold on to any object that's secure, that's not going to fall over. You can hold on to the object in front of you, and you can take the weight off by holding on there. You can sit into it and then start bringing yourself up, drive your bum up, and start getting used to it like that. So these are great ways for you to restore your squat pattern, which you definitely want to get back into your movement and get nice synovial fluid running in through your joints like your knees and your hips. Amazing mobility for the joints, especially the lower body. How many people are sitting down looking at their phones in this position for hours on end? What happens is the shoulder internally rotates, becomes extremely tight. That refers up into the neck, causes neck pain, and it's a stressful position. So it just creates stress. And in today's world, with the high levels of anxiety, it's no wonder everyone is so anxious, because everyone's sitting in an anxious posture. So let's eliminate that anxiousness from the body by doing the bridge. So what we can do with the bridge is place the hands facing back, and we can start off with the easier variation of the bridge, which is just pulling the shoulders back, pushing up through your chest, and lifting your chest up like that. That simple movement is going to stretch out the shoulders and open up the chest. So it's undoing everything that the modern day phone is doing to people. So lift the chest up, you can bend the knees, push the chest up, feel that nice stretch, and then you can start progressing by simply lifting the hips up. Drive the hips up as high as you can, lift the hips up, drive the shoulders back, feel that fantastic stretch in your shoulders, feel your chest opening up, hold for about 10 seconds, breathe in, release. Remember, drive the shoulders forward. I like to take a deep breath in through the nose. As I raise up, I'm going to draw my diaphragm into my spine. Tightening up this diaphragm, pushing through the shoulders, breathing out, holding the stretch for approximately 10 seconds, and releasing. A phenomenal movement that is so easy to do. So if you're feeling stress and tension in your shoulders, get onto the bridge. The lunge pattern is an extremely important movement because when you're lunging to pick things up, you're protecting your lumbar spine by not over-flexing the lower back. So the lunge pattern for mobility and saving your lower back is possibly one of the most important movements to get really good at. This variation of lunge, I'm going to start with the easier form of lunge. So what we're going to do is elevate the foot up. What we're trying to do here is get a nice hip flexor stretch because the hip flexors are really tight just from the nature of sitting in chairs. This area locks up and gets super tight. So what we're going to do is we're going to mobilize the ankle, the knee, and the hip, and then stretch out the back leg. So what you're going to do is elevate your foot up, like I've got this little bike stand here, and I'm taking my back leg, and you trying to keep the back leg as straight as you can. You'll feel there'll be a bit of a balance challenge. So if there is a balance challenge, what you can do is get yourself a dowel rod, a stick, or something to hold on to, and you can use that in the beginning of the lunge to help you with your stability. So you see I've got the stick here. I'm going to lift my chest up. We want to avoid falling forward. We're going to try straighten the back leg and then drive this bum as close to this ankle as possible. See, I'm lifting my chest up and I'm trying to push my back leg straight. So I'm getting a really good hip flexor stretch and then coming back up. Once you can do that comfortably with the stick, you can start progressing and learning to stabilize and do it without the stick. The biggest mistake I see people make with this is the back foot. They don't pivot up on the back toe, they let the back foot flatten out. So you want to really get up onto that back foot and pivot up onto that toe on the back leg. Once you progress and you can then move to a lower range of motion, you can then bring the leg to that lower range and then start moving into that variation of lunge. As you get better, you can start putting your front foot on the ground and moving to that variation of lunge. And then once you're getting your feet on the ground, you're doing pretty well. Get onto the lunge. Awesome for the hips. One of the common things I see when people are walking, they're walking around with their toes turned out and the arches of falling. So basically when they're walking around, walking around like duck feet, the arch is rolling in, the knees rolling in, and guess what happens? The inside of the knee just gets absolutely smashed, and hence why ACL injuries, knee injuries, and knee surgeries are so prevalent in our modern day society. What you want to do is make sure you're getting your feet to track straight when you're walking. So simply just concentrate on when you're standing, make sure your feet are facing straight, twist the toes out, pull your posture upright, and stand with your feet staying straight first. Drawing your belly in, keeping your shoulders out, back, And we call this the warrior's pose. So always ready for action, not falling over, looking at your phone, walking around like that. There's no wonder everyone is sore and decrepit because they're walking around like a bunch of zombies. So take charge of your posture, pull your shoulders back, keep your feet nice and straight, and stabilize. From there, you want to practice walking with your foot straight, track the foot straight, track the foot straight. So you can just practice slow walking just by simply walking forwards and backwards and really thinking about how your foot is tracking. Twist the knee out as you walk, step, land, twist your knee out, step. Keep your posture nice and upright. You also want to practice balancing on your single leg. So just the simple movement of standing on your single leg, holding your posture up, and holding your balance. And it doesn't matter if you find, oh, this is really difficult, and you fall in. What you want to do is make sure your foot's nice and straight, twist the knee out, get that arch in your foot, pull your shoulders back, fix on one point, and practice balancing. Once you get comfortable doing that, move your leg around. Challenge your balance, holding yourself nice and upright. You can draw figure of eights. And really just focusing on restoring all the stabilizers in your foot and in your shins and in your ankles. If you don't want knee pain, get onto this movement. It's imperative to stopping you from having knee pain. Did you know that we have the same anatomy in our shoulders as monkeys do? So these beautiful shoulders are actually made for hanging and swinging around in branches. We're very good climbers. But in the modern day society, barely anyone's even getting the arms above their head, never mind hanging. So what you want to do is restore the hanging pattern back into your body. So first off, start with something that you can hang off, like I've got this bar off over here. And you can start off by just putting your hands above your head and feeling if you can just get your hands above your head and hold that position with your feet on the ground. Don't just go straight into hanging just yet until you feel comfortable with this position first, because there's going to be flexibility issues there that could cause you pain when you're hanging. So don't overload it to start off with. If you find that it's too difficult to hang with your arms straight above you, you can bring your arms a little bit wider and start with that variation. And as you get stronger and stronger and stronger, you can bring your hands more so your biceps are in line with your ears or just touching your ears. Once you're comfortable with that, then you can start taking the load. So simply just feeling the load through your shoulders, breathing in, and starting with your hanging positions. You want to build this hanging up for anything from, 10 seconds, building yourself up to a minute. Once you've progressed that simple hanging pattern, you can then start moving your shoulders around. Now this is a lot more progressive, so make sure you can get the 1 minute of hanging before you attempt this one. So what you're going to do, you can start it with just your feet on the ground, of pulling your shoulders down without your elbows bending, and stretching your shoulders down. So basically your scapula is elevating and depressing down, elevating and depressing down. And that gets that scapula to start gliding, which is extremely good for mobility and healthy shoulders. So you can do that scapular glide with just your feet on the ground. As you've become stronger, you can start doing scapular glides up and down with your feet off the ground. And you do that until you start fatiguing. You can then also progress that even more by going into a supinated grip, so your palms are facing up towards you. That demands a lot more flexibility through the shoulder. So you can just go through the process of feet on the ground, just getting used to that position. Then you can start doing some scapular glides. Then you can start just hanging, and then you can move up to scapular glides with your feet off the ground. All right, so those daily essentials or every second day essentials are a great way for you to just unlock the modern trappings of modern day life. Get onto it. It's really simple. You don't need to go to a gym. You can do this all in the comfort of your home, and you can feel a lot better. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll make my best effort to get back to you as soon as possible. Enjoy, everyone.